All right. So again, good day, class. Today we will be discussing diction, parts of research paper, and of course, delivering campaign papers. We will be understanding their importance, their functions, and of course, a broad understanding what are these function when it comes to literature or a manner of speaking. So this is what we're going to talk about today. Okay. So now, what is diction? Okay. So actually, class, diction is referred to as an author's style of speaking or writing. Authors take a great care in choosing the precise words that they use in the writing because this ensures that their intended message is delivered properly to the readers. Okay? Especially in literature. Diction class is important in establishing the tone of the text. It helps shape the development of the characters in a narrative text. Therefore, you will feel the emotion of a certain or a particular text. Whatever you read, it can be in the form of poems or it can be a part of an essay. Then you will see or you will encounter the diction when you are reading. Okay. So, what are the types of diction? So, we have formal. So, for formal situations and presentation, formal language and words are used. These are the type of diction that we have. And if you wanted to make your diction in informal way, then words are used in situation that are conversational. This is also referred to as vernacular, meaning speak the way you talk. I'm sorry, write the way you talk. Okay. So colloquial, that means words used common in daily conversations, and this may be different in various communities. Slang, these are the words that are newly created and are used by a particular group of people. This may be offensive for some people, right? So we have to be careful in choosing what type of diction that you're going to use. Make sure that you have to use it in a proper way or according to their purpose. Okay. So now we determine the type of fiction. Let's move on to a different one, to the next topic. Based on the provided excerpt, decide on the type of diction used and write a short explanation. So this is actually your asynchronous activity. You have to compare these two. So I'm gonna park that question. Okay. So the first one is from Ode on Gratian Urn by John Keats. Heard melodies are sweet, but those unheard are sweeter. Therefore, you saw pipes play on. So, in your own understanding, what is the diction or what is the tone of this? Is it the author upset or is it the author being sarcastic or things like that? What about this one? From the Sun Rising by John Donne. Busy old fool, unruly sand, why dost thou dust through windows and through curtains call on us? Must do thy motion lover season run? So si pindanting crutch go chide. Okay? So, well, we will be elaborating this poem, but of course, based on the tone, based on the diction, how do you understand that? Okay? So next is we have understanding the different parts of the research paper. So in research, it is important that each section is established properly. This can be ensured if all the parts of a research paper are being organized in orderly manner. This can be fully achieved if researchers understand what each segment contains and how they work in one another. So basically, there is a part of a research paper that you have to understand because each part has its own purpose and has its own function. So, what are the parts of the research paper? Of course, we have the title page, we have the abstract, and introduction and statement of the problem, limitation of the study, methodology, literature review, argument, and conclusion. So let's just define each of those, okay? So let's begin with title page, okay? So title page class, this page contains details such as the research title, educational institution, and the contact information of the author, okay? So this is what you see in the title page, okay? So now let's talk about abstract, okay? You heard a lot, you heard already the abstract, right? But what is the function of abstract? Not just in thesis, but maybe you can see there, you can see abstract in the book or maybe in internet. So what is abstract? The abstract, it includes an overview, no? An overview of the research. It describes the main theme of the paper. Okay, kung ano yung tema ng iyong research paper. It must incorporate the research question, the significance of the question being asked, and the methodology used, and the findings of the research. This is usually 100 to 300 words in length and is normally one page only because you're just simply giving them an overview, like a summary of your study, okay? So we're done with the abstract. Let's move on with introduction and statement of the problem. So what is the introduction and statement of the problem? The introduction must state the problem being examined, the thesis of the research, and the importance of the topic being addressed. Okay, so there's actually a separate discussion of how you make a thesis statement, but most probably this is a good start, no? Na ang introduction must state the problem being examined, and of course, the thesis of the research and the importance of the topic that you want to address. Okay? And of course, number four is a limitation of the study, which is the probably the scope. Okay, so the researcher must always specify what the intended study is all about. He or she should also specify what areas of the study the paper will not focus on. Okay, so various factors may be considered in limiting a research paper, such as time, it can be a gender or age, geography, etc. There are so many things that you have to consider. The purpose for this is, of course, to make your thesis credible and concise because you are limiting to your topic to the one that you wanted to uh, get addressed or to address rather. Okay, so this will be very helpful for you. And of course, methodology. So what is methodology? Why methodology must include in your study, research study, okay? So this part discusses the method. Kaya nga siya methodology, this is the method, like your technique, like your way that is employed in the research. So it includes a discussion on the kind of research that was followed or the respondents, okay, of the research and the data collection process used. The aim of this part is to allow the readers enough information so that the research can be replicated if needed. You know what? This will also serve as your evidence, okay? So your respondent must be related to what you are studying for. Yung mga question mo na gusto mong bigyan ng katanungan, then this is the method or this is the way to measure, to prove your claim. Okay? So methodology is very important in thesis because there is the computation in there, there is a analyzing of your data, things like that. And of course, we have a literature review. So what is the meaning of the literature review? Why is it important when you are making a thesis? because literature review class is the part of the research paper wherein various published information on a particular topic are analyzed. So meaning dapat may foundation, no? May meron kang pinaguhugutan sa topic mo. At yung literature review, this as your backup, no? Parang you are backing up your claim that there are this kind of study that existing. So things like that. This will serve as your foundation. Okay. So this is not a mere summary of the sources, but it utilizes a specific organizational pattern that allows the sources to be reinterpreted in order to provide a better understanding of the subject at hand. So there are a lot of students compromising or not really focused on literature review. They're most focused in methodology, how they're gonna make their data valid. But you know what, class? Without a valid or if your literature review is not substantial, meaning walang nutrition dahil sulat-sulat ka lang dyan ng kung ano-ano, kaya nga tinawag yan na literature review. These are the valid sources. These are already checked by the expert, meaning this is your backup. This is to prove this will give the integrity of your thesis because most of your bases are coming from the existing study that was already checked and validated by the expert. So meaning, merong patutunguhan ang iyong thesis dahil meron ka namang pinagbabasihan na legit. Okay? That's why literature review class is very important. Okay? So now, argument. Why is it what is the function of argument? Is this creating a confusion with the part of the panelist and you as a depender of your study? So argument class, this is a part of the research paper, is where the researcher builds the thesis by strengthening the arguments being presented. So data may be used to explain the points of the arguments being discussed. So now remember, you are stating the problem at the very beginning of your thesis. And because you wanted to prove your claim, then you will have a methodology to measure the reliability and the facts, no, you wanted to accomplish with your thesis. So this argument class, once you already have that data, you have to explain now the result. Okay, so now you have a basis. So argument is not necessarily that you want to make you wanna make a confusion between you as a depender and to your panelist. This one is to strengthen. Okay? Pinapagtibay natin ang ating study base sa mga data na nakalap natin na nagpapatunay. No? So parang sa crime, parang sa mga nasasakdal, no? Ang mga nakalap mong ebidensya ay talagang nagpapatunay na yung study mo ay may kabuluhan. Okay? So whatever topic is that, I can speak general. I cannot speak specific unless we have a specific topic that we are discussing about. Okay? So now, number 8, we have a conclusion. Okay? So a conclusion is meant to remind the reader why the topic being studied is important. It is not a mere restatement of the thesis statement. So this is what I'm talking about. When you say conclusion, this is not reinstating what you just put on the very beginning of your thesis, but somehow this is a kind of recommendation or what you found out based on the methodology or based on the techniques and methods that you use to measure the reliability and the credibility of your study because of that data, right? So this is where you put. So class thesis is very important. Just like what I said, you have to understand each function, because if you understand each function, then you can simply put what is relevant, that is required to that particular parts of thesis. Okay, so that is very clear. So by the way, class, good conclusion must be able to do 4 things. Okay, you cannot just simply conclude. You have to take this consideration. Okay, the first one is make sure when you conclude, you create a connection between the subject being discussed and the realities of the society. So there is an integration of connectivity between the title, diba? Between the subject that you are discussing and the society that you are living in, di ba? Anong purpose? Bakit ka naggumawa ng thesis para lang ma-required or requirements? Of course, you want to resolve a certain issues that we face in reality or in real world. Okay? Kaya ka gumagawa ng thesis. Hindi for the sake na makagraduate ka. But of course, yung thesis mo is may kabuluhan. Okay? May gusto kang i-resolve na problema na kinakaharap mo. Okay? So, number two consideration, class, is present the implication of the subject that the paper discuss. Ano ba yung mga implications? Ano yung mga possibility, no, na pwedeng mangyari? And of course, ask questions that may lead to other relevant studies. Class, do not make any question that is unnecessary. It might confuse the panelists. Make sure that you ask a question. There is a connection to lead in solution, no? Papunta doon yung solution. So para kang nag-i-investigate, no, na kailangan may gusto kang patunayan. Hindi yung nagtanong ka lang dahil gusto mo lang. Your question must be standardized and lead to its own objective. Okay? So re-examine the main ideas presented and comprehend this with a new understanding. Okay, so you already have that kind of result and you have the conclusion connected to your subject and the reality or the real world that you are facing, may connection na discover mo. And now, what is the idea came out? Is it your thesis is uh, sa tingin mo ba yung thesis mo talagang nag-undergone to the right process, whatever be the result? Ayan yung nakalap mo, and then that's fine, okay? As long as your thesis has an integrity and proves something, kunwari sabihin natin nasa 70% or to 80% because not all the thesis study, hindi naman lahat ng thesis study class is perfect. Meron talagang weaknesses yan na tinatakpan natin. No? Kaya nga dinidepensahan natin ang ating thesis. And of course, the panelists are also aware with that. It is not how you present your thesis by its cover, no? But how you depend the content of your thesis. That's really matter to the panelists. Hindi kung paano mo siya ginawa, kung paano mo kinumpal, kung paano mo sinunod, kundi kung ano yung mga connection or content or nilalaman ng iyong essay, and you have to depend it accordingly. If there is a weaknesses, then of course it's a recommendation to reevaluate your thesis afterwards. But then again, okay na yun. Okay? Magiging basis na yan sa study, and maybe other can improve your thesis as well. So now we have delivering campaign speeches. Now we know what are the parts of a thesis, class. But remember, class, our words is very powerful. The moment that we open our mouth, if there is a sense of whatever words come out to your mouth, then that is very empowering. So another example is Miss Universe. No? Some other people may discourage that or may not be, should I say, a fan of, sabihin natin, mga beauty contest, no? But this is how you develop yourself to speak in public, whether you convince them, whether you inspire them. So that's why I'm trying to, this is something that I want to explain right now, how you deliver a speech that is effective, diba? Sabi nga nila, it is not the content of what you said, but it is how you say it, di ba? Kung paano mo sinabi, hindi yung bigat ng salita. Halimbawa yung sorry, pag nag-sorry ako sa'yo, mabigat yung sorry, no? Pero hindi siya nagmamatter doon. Kung paano mo siya sinabi. If you are sincere, it will reflect. Okay? Well, sinabi mo sa isang tao, I love you. Mabigat na rin na salita yung I love you, syempre, in-express mo yung sarili mo. But then again, it's not about the bigat or the content yung sinabi mo, but it is how you say it. Okay? So now let's talk about it. um, the world is riddled with a myriad of social ills, no? Ang dami sa mundo natin na napakagaling magsalita, na maraming nabobola, sabihin natin, maraming nalilinlang because of the flowering words, because that's a gift, that's a skill. Meaning, hindi ka pinanganak na magaling ka na magsalita. This is something that you can learn, okay? So poverty, hunger, war, these are some of the few that we try to solve for a long period of time. The reason why we have war? Because of miscommunication. And the only way to resolve that is a communication. So now this is what I am about to talk. Okay? Kung paano i-deliver ang isang message na effective. Okay? So how are you gonna do that? Let's throw back first with the history that we have, how these people or famous people use their voices to raise awareness for cause that are important. Parang pang Miss Universe naman to. But anyway, these are the famous people. For example, Abraham Lincoln. Okay, 16th president of the United States, correct? So he spoke against slavery through the Gettysburg Address. So this is actually a place from Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken. And that address held in Pennsylvania, and that year was the complete date of that was November 19, 1863. Okay, so what is the anong meron? 'Di ba tatanungin natin sa sarili natin. So what is all about in that particular message? Why he became famous? 'Di ba? Yun yung papasok sa ating sa utak natin. So on June 1st, 1865, Senator Charles Sumner referred to the most famous speech ever given by President Abraham Lincoln. So in his eulogy on the slain president, he called the Gettysburg Address a monumental act. Okay, so from this term itself, there is an underlying meaning, correct? So he said Lincoln was mistaken that the world will little note nor long remember that we say here, rather the Bostonian remark. So the world noted at once that he said and will never cease to remember it. The battle itself was less important the than the speech. Okay, that is the element that you can see, or these are the words that you can see on his address. Okay, so having said that, if you try to look at the words that he used, okay, the world noted at once that he said and will never cease to remember it. The battle itself was less important than the speech. Tama? And also Winston Churchill and his rousing speech about fighting battles. Okay, so what is that all about? Why Winston Churchill became famous? So Churchill is best remembered for successfully leading Britain through World War II. He was famous for his inspiring speeches and for his refusal to give in. Even when things were going badly, many people consider him the greatest Briton of all time and is almost certainly the most famous British Prime Minister. So that's why, class, many people, let's talk about the reality that we are facing. Look at our government, the formation of our government. Maybe most of us look at the government in a different way, no? Siguro yung iba favor, yung iba naman hindi. But me as a language teacher, I always focus what really comes out to your mouth because you are the model, di ba? Isa kang modelo ng mga kabataan. Especially if you are a president, make sure whatever comes out to your mouth, it's inspiring because you are a role model, okay? But of course, it's case to case basis. We undergone with the holy, should I say, parang holy spirited president na napaka galang tingnan, napaka edukado magsalita. But then again, there is a flows when it comes to action, no? But of course, we have different experiences with that. But what I want to focus is the language. Okay? Kasi nga, this is our topic now. Look at what the word comes out to President Duterte, for instance. Basic na lang yung pagmumura, di ba? But of course, we don't tolerate that. Pagsasalita ng mga profanity, it's a big no. Okay? Kaya nga, as of now, if President cannot adjust himself, ikaw na lang or tayo na lang ang mag-adjust because alam naman natin kung anong tama at mali. Alright? Wag natin hahangaan ang isang tao sa maling pagbitaw ng salita, but rather appreciate natin yung mga good deeds, but do not appreciate those bad deeds. I'm not anti-Duterte. I don't care about any politics at all. This is just an example because we want to justify our discussion just for the sake of justification to our topic, okay? Okay? Walang politika tayong pinag-usapan kung anti or not. So, I'm in a neutral side, all right? And next, we have Martin Luther the King Jr. and his awe-inspiring I Have a Dream speech. So, this is known for his contribution to the American civil rights movements in the 1960s. His most famous work is his I Have a Dream. So, that speech, delivered in 1963, in which he spoke of his dream of a United States that is void of segregation and racism. By the way, class, racism is still existing nowadays, no? Maybe it evolves in a different formation of discrimination based on your race and gender, maybe. So, this is actually one of the inspiring one because it gives us a hope that no matter who you are, whatever color you are, as long as we are living this world, we are all equal. So parang ganon, di ba? So now, what are the steps in producing speech? Okay. So in producing speech class, we are needing phonation. Okay, phonation. So what is phonation? It refers to the vocal sound produced when speaking. There are only 26 letters in English alphabets, correct? But when it's combined together, it's really hard. Yung 26 lang naman. Pero pag nagsama-sama na siya, nabuo na siya, uh, it will compose now a different sound. Okay? Pag sinagsama mo yung A, sinagsama mo yung L, P, H, pag pinagsama-sama mo, it will become an alphabet. And now, they are contributing each sounds to form a new sound. Nakuha niyo yung point ko? Pag pinagsama-sama natin yung mga magkakaibang sound, bumubuo siya ng isang kakaibang sound din na hindi na nila ka-sound. Okay? So, these letters can create 40 different sounds. Okay? So, ensure that you can say this 40 English sound properly. Okay, disclaimer in there. I totally understand that we cannot speak like an American. We cannot, our accent is different from them because this is just our secondary language. I understand that. But of course, at least, di ba, we can pronounce the right way in a standardized form. Yung standard na pagsasalita. That's okay. Because just like what I said, we can formulate a different sound because we're coming from diverse country, di ba? Iba-iba yung salita natin. Dito pa nga lang sa Pilipinas, ang dami na nating languages. May Bisaya, may Ilocano, and how much more dagdagan pa natin ang English and di ba? Pag nagsalita na tayo, iba-iba rin tayo magsalita ng English. But that's okay. That is normal. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. If you cannot pronounce just like an American, it's not a big deal. Okay, but what I'm trying to say here, class, is this is something that you can learn. Okay, this is something that you can practice to yourself. Me myself, when I was a kid, this is not the way I talk. Okay, hindi ako ganito magsalita, hindi ako ganito marunong mag-English. But because this is my line, this is my career, this is my bread and butter, I have to do so. Okay? And of course, I have to learn. Kasi what is the essence na magtuturo ka ng English if you yourself cannot even, deliver the way it should be. Okay? So next is stress and articulation. So stress and articulation class. If you see someone that is struggling with their pronunciation, do not laugh. Huwag mo pagtawanan class, no? Because he or she trying his best to pronounce the word properly or accordingly. Okay? Hindi natin kailangan pagtawanan niya. The most important thing here is we try our best to speak and to adapt that language. Okay? So, ano ba ang stress and articulation? Nakaka-stress naman, di ba? So, knowing which syllable to stress in a word allows speaker to neutralize any form of accent. With this, the message is clearer to more audience remember. Okay? So, maaalala ng iyong audience kung paano ka nagbibigay ng mga stress na paano mo binibigyan ng enunciation or diin ang isang salita. Okay? And of course, we have the respiration. So, what does that mean?
So may papasay na tayo na sila na lahat.
Okay, wait lang.
Kinig sa meeting. Sports coordinator sa
Wait lang class I think I missed something here.
So by Friday, we have your chapter 1.
So, respiration class is knowing how to use air in producing sound will ensure that the pressure and vibration needing in producing sound is correct. So, pag nagsasalita tayo class, no, we need to pause. At least a juncture ba na hindi tuloy-tuloy. Why? Because respiration means you need to inhale and exhale for you to deliver the amount of air required to that particular words, no? So hindi ka dapat nagsasalita ng mabilis. But of course, minsan kailangan natin gawin yan, especially if we are discussing, which is required for time, time limitation or time limit. So we have to make it faster or we have to wrap it up, yung sinasabi nila. But of course, respiration is one way of exercising how you deliver the words. Okay? Yung mga required na yan, kailangan ng amount of air, kailangan ng synchronization ng mouth, ng tongue. It depends. But respiration class is very important as well when we speak. Okay? So, remember class, phonation, stress, and articulation and respiration need to work seamlessly, meaning to say, parang normal lang. Okay? Parang normal lang na hindi magpo-pause tapos magano ka. Dapat hindi halata. Okay? Fake until you make it. So together, so that the sound that we produce are clear, this will ensure that the general listening public will be able to understand the message that is being presented. Okay, disclaimer class. Not all people are gifted to this. May mga tao talaga na meron silang problem sa speaking, no? Meron na talaga silang kahit anong gawin nila is a problema na talaga like parang abnormality sa kanilang pagsasalita. So we cannot push those persons. They are special, okay? But it doesn't mean they can't talk. Okay? Iba lang talaga yung paraan ng pag-express nila ng kanilang pananalita. So now, the point of this discussion class is there is a relevance of how you speak. Meaning to say, paglabas pa lang or pagbukas pa lang ng bibig mo, yung air na lumalabas sa bibig mo, yung pagbuka ng bibig mo, yung dila mo, and when you deliver it with a conviction, yan, yung tawag natin, and sincerity, kasi kahit gaano ka pa kagaling magsalita, kung hindi nararamdaman ang sincerity, then that is useless. Kaya nga, always speaks from your heart. Di naman talaga yung words na mabulaklakin. I believe sugarcoating things is not always work. working in all aspect now. So case to case basis. So I hope you learned something from this discussion. If you have any question for me, let's just talk about it on Thursday. Okay. So goodbye and thank you.